All right, guys, we're out here today. We're throwing some frogs, throwing a ribbit frog around, throwing a walking frog around. And I'm going to tell you something. People ask me all the time, do you truly use Livescope all the time? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. Do I stare at the screen 100% of the time? No, I don't. But when I'm coming up to a tree, I'm going to monitor that tree. For example, there's some trees right there. I'm looking on my fish finder to see if I see, and it's just a quick glance, but I'll look and see if I see a fish on the right or the left in front of it. If I don't see one, that doesn't absolutely mean I won't cast at it. But it necessarily means, it does mean that I'm going to look at almost every tree that I cast at to see, because a lot of times you only get one cast on a tree. And if you come at the wrong direction, a lot of times you don't get a second, especially with a frog or topwater, things like that, because that initial splash kind of ruins the hole. But let's take a look at some screenshots, and you can actually see my bait coming across the screen. Pretty nifty. And probably throw in a frog catch at the end here. Guys, let's go. All right, guys, let's start off with the settings here. On perspective mode, I always back my gain down. A very important thing to notice also too is the angle of the beam in the upper right hand corner. Notice how it's angled upwards, and the reason that's done is to darken the bottom and eliminate the bottom returns as best as you can. When you're fish topwaters, I'm more concerned about seeing trees, hard objects off the bottom as the fish are up higher in the water column. And another thing I'm concerned about is I want to see my bait when possible. And when the fish get high in the water column, you want to be able to see them trailing your bait. I'm going to point out a few things here. I'm going to point out to you what I'm looking for when I'm doing this. Notice how the bottom, real dark. That's by design. Like you said, that's by design. We're in about 5.5 foot of water. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out some fish on trees and show you what I'm looking for. Now, look at this tree right here. You see this tree? Now, I want you to focus on this tree as we go back to live video. Look at the fish swimming in front of that tree. There's 2 fish swimming in front of that tree. They're moving around, and that is what we're focusing on. If you can hear, I'm out here on the lake. Waves is rocking, baby. It's awesome. A little bit warm, but that's Louisiana for you. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for I don't really need to know. When I'm fishing topwaters, I don't need to know depth. I don't need the forward mode. I just need to know the presence of fish. That's the important thing, presence of fish. So each time when I see a tree, I'm giving it a quick glance. And let me tell you something. When I'm fishing topwaters, I'm target fishing. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the presence of fish, the fish moving around the trees. That way I can make a good, accurate cast. A lot of times you get one shot at throwing at these trees, and if you don't put it on it, you're going to be in trouble. Now, here's another picture coming up. It is of a tree, but I want you to notice, see that big fish in front of it? And I'm actually going to zoom way in and let you see the video of this one. Now, pay attention to that tree. Now, look at that fish. Starts out on the right side. Now, watch him swim around. Now, he's right in front, and he's swimming to the right side, and now he's going to turn and go back to the left. That was a big bass. I caught him on the actual frog, but that's something I wanted you to notice. That's what we're looking for. Here we're seeing it again from a zoomed back version. I've actually moved it to the right of the screen. You can see that fish swimming around that tree, but notice how he's not still. That's very important to note. So when you're using your perspective mode, don't just feel like, hey, well, I see him in front of the tree. Watch him, study him a little bit, and try to put that bait on him the very first cast, because a lot of times that's all you've got. Now we're going to go on through this here, and I'm just looking. You can see several fish swimming around. This is a very shallow area, very typical to Louisiana, way in the back of some sloughs and creeks off the main lake. Just good summertime stuff, because these fish stay in these areas forever, and you can go back here and fish a frog or topwater for days and days and days. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at each of these fish, each of these objects that I see on the screen. Boom, boom, boom. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily not going to throw at a tree, because that would be lying. I throw at almost every tree. But when I do see that fish, that's when I'll focus and hone in and try to make the proper cast the first time. Here's another little area, and I'm zooming in on this right here. It's just another view of a fish swimming on a tree. It's just amazing. You look at him swimming around that tree. That is awesome. That is awesome. But here's a little fish catch for you guys. Wasn't a big fish, but it's just very cool. I throwed it on the right side of the tree, didn't catch him. Throw it back on the left side of the tree. Pop that head, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And you know, you better ring that bell now. Ring it.
Ain't big, but it's fun.
So guys, what do you think about that? Pretty awesome to know that you can actually see your frog or topwater bait coming across the water. That's an amazing thing to me. And I'm talking about, we're in 2-3 foot of water. It doesn't, but you have to align. You have to align that transducer a little differently when you're fishing topwaters versus fishing something down in the water column. And that's an important part of this whole thing. But guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the videos. And you know, ring that bell.